My heart sped up. It was an unfamiliar feeling that I felt. It was the only way I can explain it, and it was captivating. I was so mesmerized, confused, trying to comprehend what I was looking at, that the last thing that was on my brain was, I need to take a picture of this. It was like my brain was trying to comprehend what I was looking at.
While tens of thousands of UFO sightings have been documented, countless others go unreported. Today, for the first time, I'm going to share my own personal story about an encounter I had with a UFO. This unsettling experience stuck with me for years, but I'm finally ready to talk about it.
So this leads me to a personal story. I saw a triangular UFO in 2003. It happened at night. I was able to go back to Google Maps and find the area in Utah. I was in Utah, Provo, where I was standing at this night. There's a film studio, like a sound stage, and I was a production assistant. And I was outside the door on the outside while they recorded, and the red light was on. So the red light was on, so I had to wait till they cut and I could go back in. So I'm waiting outside. I'm facing this direction here towards the mountain range. It's night. This is exactly where I was standing. This is what I saw flying from south to north. And I wasn't looking up. I was looking straight at something, and something caught my eye, and I looked up, and it was this triangle of blue lights. There were these clouds were low and moving fast, so you know those low, fast-moving clouds,
Sure.
1,000, 2,000 feet up. This was underneath the clouds. It wasn't above, it was flying underneath the clouds. And dude, not a sound. That creeped me out. I was just like, oh, cool. I'd seen a B-2 bomber at a air show where they're showing it off, the B-2 bomber, years ago. And I was like, oh, this is what this is. And I kept waiting for the eventual, the sound of a jet.
Yes.
And this sucker flies over, and I never hear it. I see it, and I never hear it. And it's just moving along, and the wind is blowing. The clouds are going this way.
Right.
So they're moving from east to west, and this thing is flying, I guess adjacent to the wind, just flying right through, and it doesn't make a sound.
What sort of speed would you estimate?
Not fast. I would say it went from here to here in 9 seconds, 10 seconds. It was not moving fast.
But again, the drawing that you've produced is interesting because, sticking with the analogy of a B-2, if this had been a B-2 at the height that you've really got this thing, I mean, it would have made a pretty impressive sound, and you would have seen it for what it was, I'm sure.
What plane, other than a helicopter, can move 20, 30 miles an hour without falling out of the sky, or having some strong propulsion system that's going to be killing your ears from how loud it is?
Some people have said, oh, well, when you see some of these black triangles, maybe it's a B-2 stealth bomber.
Right.
Well, I don't know if those people have ever seen a B-2.
I've seen and heard one.
If this was a B-2, it would have taken the rooftops off.
Right.
I mean,
The B-2 bomber, the F-117, the rumored TR-3B.
All these other possible human-made Air Force, at one point top secret planes, they all make noise.
And I know that aviation technology runs several years ahead of what's publicly declared, of course. But, not only don't we have anything that we can put our finger on now and say, oh, it's that aircraft, but these sightings go back decades. So if this really had been some sort of prototype stealth craft, well, Hudson Valley, for example, that's the sort of thing that we would be seeing now. But here we are, decades on, and still we don't have anything that can do that.
And the other thing that I'm pretty sure I saw is I couldn't see. I'm pretty sure I saw through here, so I didn't see black here, like through
Right.
here. It looked just like this. There was no body in the middle.
Which is very much like many of the Phoenix Lights sightings, where you have not a solid triangle, but effectively, it's like almost like two wings, but with no fuselage or tail or anything.
And I just want to. The feeling I got from, that's probably that thing I saw at the air show, to not hearing it, not having that auditory connection to what I was seeing, and I usually experience something with like that. It was a cold, my heart sped up. It was an unfamiliar feeling that I felt. It was the only way I can explain it, and it was captivating. And I understand why a lot of people go, well, why don't you just take your camera out and take a picture of it, man? And it was like I was so mesmerized, confused, trying to comprehend what I was looking at, that the last thing that was on my brain was, I need to take a picture of this. It was like my brain was trying to comprehend what I was looking at. And I remember it disappeared over this horizon, the light went off, and that kind of snapped me out of it. I remember, I gotta go in. And I went in, and I remember I went up to my assistant director, and I said, I just saw a UFO. And they were like, whatever. And I was like, guys, I think I did. And I remember telling a few of them, describing it, but their heads were kind of in production, and we're just kind of like, okay, whatever. And I make sure they don't talk over there, Green Street, and that was like that. And I don't think I told many people about it. I never even described or it was burned in my brain, but I didn't make a big to-do about it. You said a lot of sightings go unreported.
Yes.
This is mine, and it went unreported.
Right.
I didn't feel it. It's a confusing feeling. I didn't feel a need to I must call MUFON or I must call the Air Force. Let's get to the bottom of this thing. I didn't have that.
Some people don't report because of fear of ridicule or disbelief. Others don't report because they don't know who to call. So there are all sorts of reasons why people don't necessarily come forward with this sort of thing. But you're certainly not alone. Both in terms of what you've seen, and I would say your intellectual and emotional reaction to it.
I know this sounds weird, but it felt personal, like a personal experience. It was...
I mean, in one sense, every UFO sighting could be viewed in that context, and rightly so. And by the way, you're certainly not alone in literally having a camera but being so mesmerized that you don't even think about it. You even forget that you have it. And I've spoken to people who have responded in many, many different ways emotionally. Some with fear, some with wonder, some with almost panic, the whole range of emotions, both at the time and afterwards, where you try to process this. And very often I find that people go down two routes with this. They either kind of embark on a quest and have to reassess their whole worldview and their paradigm and their belief system, whatever. Or maybe sometimes, because that's just too challenging, they kind of compartmentalize it and file it away mentally. And I don't know where you went with this afterwards. I mean,
I compartmentalized it. I just part of my brain still right now says it's just a military jet. I mean, there's multiple Hill Air Force Base is within driving distance of this location. God knows what they're flying out of there. Area 51 is literally a hop, skip, and a jump to the west. God knows what they're flying out of there. It could be, but there's a part of me that looks back and it should have made sound. It should have made. There was something about it that scared me.
Yeah.
I remember my heart was just going da, 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 da. It was a confusing moment, and yeah, it's like I've seen lots of planes, I've seen lots of weird stuff, but that word just came to me, that it was a personal experience. I don't think I've ever explained it this way, but that's the best way I can explain it, man. It's like it just feels like a private, personal moment.
Yeah, almost like you're being shown something. Now, whether that's deliberate or whether it is simply that after something like this, even if you do compartmentalize it, at some level, intellectually, you have to kind of adjust your worldview somewhat, because everything you thought you knew, suddenly it's like, well, hey, I don't know that anymore. And new questions and issues arise that might totally flip your personal paradigm.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
But
that I would have an emotional reaction to seeing an airplane.
Now, I would, no, exactly. And in a sense, I think the human mind is pretty good at this. And I think that actually what causes this odd reaction is the fact that it is something so outside of your frame of reference. Right. And if I'm going to play amateur psychologist now, I will say that, of course, you didn't.
Go on.
Okay. What we're doing now is part of this story. It's kind of the denouement, or what, Right. It's you are now perhaps delayed action, but this never left you. It will never leave you. And what you're doing now is you are on maybe a quest, obviously to try and make sense of a mystery which is captivating the US because of all these revelations about the Pentagon's program and things like that. But on a personal level, you are trying now to come to terms with what you saw.
Yes, I guess so.
So that's my amateur psychology. But I think it doesn't surprise me. The deep emotional kind of imprint that these experiences have on people manifest themselves in different ways, and you as a filmmaker and a journalist are someone who is now in a position maybe to use that as a catalyst and say, what did I see and what the heck are other people seeing? What does it all mean?
I don't know what to say to that, man. Wait, are you like Gandalf and I'm like Frodo and you're sending me on a quest to Mordor?
One does not walk into Mordor. But look, heck, why not? Questions like, are we alone or not in the universe, and are we being visited, are some of the biggest and most profound questions we can ask ourselves. And if we can get answers to those questions, why wouldn't we want those answers?
On the next episode of The Basement Office, we'll be diving deep into one of the most mysterious and chilling UFO sightings of all time.
Were you scared?
Yeah, I was very scared.
The Rendlesham Forest Incident.